Found out my husband and his best friend had a secret relationship in high school that everyone knew except me. When I told him to distance himself from her, he keeps refusing. I feel like I'm going crazy and I need a fresh perspective before taking the next step. I discovered that my husband, M37, and his best friend, F36, had a sexual relationship that lasted throughout high school years and multiple relationships. Apparently it was a known secret in their circle of friends. Let me start from the beginning. I met my husband during the last year of college. He comes from a very small town and has the same group of friends since elementary school. I used to find it endearing, now I just stare at the walls when he mentions anything about his hometown. His best friend, F36, used to be his desk mate in kindergarten. He used to talk about her a lot before I met her. Mostly fun anecdotes and childhood memories. It wasn't just casual mentions either. At least once a day, he'd bring up Pokey this or Pokey that. He'd laugh about pranks they pulled on teachers or adventures they had in the woods behind their houses. When we were planning our wedding, he kept suggesting we should ask her opinion on venues because she knew the area so well. I'd catch him texting her during dinner and he'd just shrug and say they were planning a surprise birthday for someone in their friend group. Honestly, I was a bit jealous at the beginning. He had all these memories and shared friends with her. He even had a special nickname for her, Pokey. No one else could call her that, just him. That should have been my first clue. I let go of my worries when I met her. Pokey wasn't like the horrible female best friend in the movies. She didn't roll her eyes when I spoke or make condescending comments about my clothes or job. She was always supportive and sweet. She'd remember things I mentioned months ago and ask follow-up questions. She'd bring homemade cookies when visiting and offer to help with dishes after dinner. She's a cake designer and she gifted us our wedding cake and made a beautiful speech. I remember standing there during the reception, watching her talk about how love changes people for the better and feeling grateful that my husband had such thoughtful friends. Still, there was a part of me that always felt a bit uneasy. Me and my husband never really talked about past relationships, mostly because I didn't want to focus on the past, but in general, from what he let slip, he was a bit of an asshole as a teenager. He'd make offhand comments about dating multiple girls at once or breaking up with someone via text message. His friends sometimes joked about how they were surprised he ever settled down. In particular, his friends sometimes talk about how it's incredible their group survived the summer of madness. I always assumed that some kind of high school drama happened and that was it until I discovered what it was about. Last Tuesday, I was out with one of my husband's friend's wife, Gertrude. We weren't even particularly close, but our husbands were hanging out and we decided to grab coffee. We were sitting at a small cafe downtown, just making small talk about work and upcoming holiday plans. Gertrude mentioned something about a group camping trip next month and asked if I was excited about spending 3 days in the woods with everyone. Gertrude told me something about how she admired me for being so secure in my marriage even with the one that got away in the picture. I was confused. I set my coffee down and asked her what she meant. I told her that I didn't understand what she was talking about and then she told me, "Oh, I thought you knew about Pokey and Maurice, my husband." I think I died a little hearing that. My hands went completely numb. The coffee shop suddenly seemed too loud. She proceeded to tell me about how they basically fucked through high school years. How Pokey was my husband's first everything and how they cheated on every single boyfriend/girlfriend they had during that period with the other. It wasn't just some teenage experimentation either. Apparently this went on for years. She told me how they'd sneak away from group outings to meet up. How they had a secret spot by the lake where they'd go when they were supposed to be studying. How everyone knew but nobody talked about it because they were all tired of the drama. Gertrude just kept talking, seemingly oblivious to how each word made my stomach twist tighter. The famous summer of madness was the last summer of high school. Apparently the whole group was fighting because some were done with their behavior while others kept covering for them. Some friends stopped speaking to each other. A few people stopped getting invited to parties because they called out Maurice and Pokey's behavior. Group camping trips got cancelled. Birthdays went uncelebrated. All because my husband and his best friend couldn't keep their hands off each other despite dating other people. What's worst is that it all ended because Pokey put a stop to it. She chose a college far away from their hometown and stopped talking to my husband for a whole year. Maurice went through 3 different girlfriends during that time, according to Gertrude. He would get drunk at parties and call Pokey's number, leaving long voicemails that their friends would have to delete before she heard them. She didn't come home for Christmas or spring break. She blocked him on social media. And then suddenly, when his grandmother died, she showed up at the funeral and they've been best friends ever since. After the revelation, I confronted Pokey. I shouldn't have, but I was so angry and humiliated. I waited outside her bakery after closing time. She saw me standing there and smiled, asking if I wanted to come in for leftover pastries. I followed her inside and started questioning her immediately. The smile dropped from her face as soon as I mentioned high school. She tried to interrupt me several times, but I kept going, asking how she could look me in the eye all these years knowing what she knew. I knocked over a chair when I stood up to leave. I don't want her near me or my husband. I keep thinking about how they shared everything, about how not even our intimacy is truly ours. It drives me insane. When I got home, I threw away the coffee mug she gifted me last Christmas. I deleted every photo with her from my phone. She obviously told my husband and we've been fighting since then. He came home from work early the next day, slamming the front door and calling my name. He's telling me over and over that there's nothing between him and Pokey. In his opinion, I'm overreacting to something that happened almost 20 years ago and has been closed and dead. He keeps pointing at our wedding photos, at the 13 years we've spent together. He asks if I've ever seen any inappropriate behavior between them. But I feel like I can never trust the two of them together. Am I wrong? Additional information. Okay, so a lot of people are asking me why I got angry at Pokey and not my husband. First, I am angry at Maurice. I can barely stand in the same room. I've been sleeping on the edge of the bed, as far away from him as possible. I've been putting in extra hours at work just to avoid coming home. When he tries to touch me, I find myself flinching away. Last night he reached for my hand while we were watching TV and I pretended I needed to use the bathroom. Second, I feel childish but I was /am jealous of her. I didn't grow up like Maurice. I barely remember the people I went to middle school with. My family moved 3 times before I finished high school. To me, friends are something different. They're people who come and go. People who are close for a season of life but eventually drift away when circumstances change. He had this girl that knew every single thing about him, that shared adventures and Christmases and birthdays, family and friends. She was there when he broke his arm falling out of a tree. She knows which teachers gave him a hard time. She remembers what his childhood bedroom looked like. It was a lot. I knew she was important to him, so I tried my best. I invited her to dinners at our place. I remembered her birthday. I asked her advice about gifts for Maurice. I made space for their friendship. I thought that at least I had his love first. Turns out she had that too. When Gertrude told me, my mind immediately went to all those times I'd caught them whispering and laughing together. All those inside jokes I never understood. All those camping trips where they'd stay up late talking by the fire after everyone else went to bed. I was mad. Was it right? No. But in that moment she was the focus of my rage. No, and it drives me insane. Why can't he say that he was in love with her? It's plain she was his first love. But no, I don't get it and am delusional. They were kids and confused. F that. What's confusing about ditching your friends and your GF for a summer in order to bang your best friend? What's confusing about destroying an entire friend group because you can't keep your hands to yourself? Even now, he refers to it as a stupid teenage thing and refuses to acknowledge the depth of what happened. Gertrude told me about the castle of lies he spun around that poor girl. How he told his girlfriend at the time that he was helping his dad with yard work while actually meeting Pokey at the lake. How he'd create elaborate excuses to miss family events if Pokey wasn't invited. I feel sick thinking about it. Update 1. Hi guys. First of all, thank you for all the responses, the messages and the support I got. Currently I feel like I don't really have friends I can trust, but at least I can have some validation from you. I've spent the past week checking my phone constantly for notifications from this post. It's pathetic, but it's the only place where people actually understand what I'm going through. So I have a small update and things don't look good. I had a pretty big fight with husband last night. He went to the usual Friday game night. I forgot to mention it in my last post, but he and his friends had 2 types of game nights. One is normally on Friday as most of them don't work during the weekend. It's a group thing and they play some kind of D&D. Usually is hosted by Andrew, M37, who is the master of the campaign. Then there are sporadic game nights in which some of them play video games and chat. In that case, the numbers of people are variable. Sometimes it's just Maurice and Andrew playing Call of Duty. Sometimes it's 5 or 6 of them playing Mario Kart and getting drunk. Pokey usually attends both types of game nights. As I said, last night Maurice went to play D&D. He was getting ready to leave, packing up his character sheets and dice. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching him. I asked if Pokey would be there. He sighed loudly and rolled his eyes before answering. He was annoyed and told me yes. I asked if he had seen her these days. He told me that he went to get coffee with some of the guys on Tuesday and that Thursday he went to grab lunch. I was pissed, so I raised my voice and asked why he can't stay away from her at least for now. My hands were shaking. I grabbed onto the doorframe to steady myself. He told me, and I quote, "I can, but I'm not going to cater to your tantrum." I didn't do anything, so I'm not going to act like I'm guilty of something. He zipped up his backpack with more force than necessary and pushed past me into the hallway. I reiterated that I don't want her in our life now that I know, and he asked me what do I want him to do. It's a small town and we are neighbors. All of my friends are her friends. Unless we move we are gonna have contacts. He was standing at the front door now, keys in hand. So I told him that maybe we should move. Maybe we should start over in a place where I can trust people. I suggested looking for jobs in the city, about an hour away. We could commute for a while before finding something closer to a new home. He told me I'm insane. That he's not gonna sell his grandma's house that he loves and move somewhere away from his family and friends just because I feel insecure and to grow the F up. He slammed the door on his way out. I threw a coffee mug at the wall after he left. I spent 20 minutes cleaning up the broken pieces. I stormed into our room and he went to his friends. I tried watching TV but couldn't focus on anything. I tried reading but kept going over the same paragraph again and again. I tried calling my sister but she didn't pick up. When he came back around midnight, he started gaming on the PS instead of coming to bed. I could hear him talk, so I went to the living room. The lights were off except for the glow of the TV. He had his headset on and was completely focused on the screen. I asked him who he was playing with. I kid you not, he was playing COD and chatting with Pokey and Andrew. He was with her just a couple of hours before. I asked him to come to bed. I stood there in my pajamas, arms crossed, waiting for him to acknowledge me. He told me he had to finish the game and that he needed to vent frustration. I'm not proud of me, but I raised my voice again and said something like, "Can you even breathe without seeing her for 10 minutes?" He didn't even look at me. His eyes stayed fixed on the screen where he was shooting at someone. He just told me, "If you're gonna make a scene, tell me now so I can turn off the mic." I walked out of the room, grabbing a blanket from the closet on my way. I slept in the guest room. The mattress was too hard and I woke up with a stiff neck. This morning Joachim, the friend that works in my office, came and talked to me. I was at my desk, trying to focus on spreadsheets instead of my marriage falling apart. He knocked on my office door around 10 a.m. and closed it behind him. Apparently Maurice has told them everything Friday. He was venting. I imagined all of them sitting around the D&D table, rolling dice while my husband complained about his paranoid wife. Joachim told me that Gertrude thrives in drama and that's why she opened that can of worms. He assured me that there's nothing between Pokey and Maurice. And that this situation will become an issue just if I make it one. His tone was condescending, like he was explaining something simple to a child. I asked him what he meant and he told me, "You married him, you know how he is. Maurice is like emotionally dependent on Pokey or whatever. If she killed someone he would dig a hole and help her hide the body. If you want this marriage to work, just learn to coexist." I asked him if he thinks Maurice still loves Pokey. He looked away, suddenly very interested in the family photo on my desk. He told me that maybe I should ask my husband because he doesn't know. At this point I just can't let this go. I feel like a crazy paranoid woman, but I just can't let this go. The thought of them together keeps me up at night. I keep replaying every interaction I've ever seen between them, looking for signs I missed. I asked Gertrude out for lunch Wednesday. I sent her a text. I begged her to tell me everything she knows because I need to know. Still, I'm scared of what I'll learn. What if he never loved me at all? What if I was just a convenient replacement when Pokey rejected him? Update 2. Hello guys, first of all thank you for the messages and the chat a lot of you sent me. Thanks for checking on me. I'm sorry I didn't reply and also for updating so late, but I needed time to think and sort myself. I've been staring at my phone screen for hours, trying to find the right words. Some of you pointed out how I was spiraling and acting kind of crazy. You were right. I was. I threw away all our wedding photos. I considered calling Pokey's ex-husband to ask if he had suspicions too. I checked Maurice's phone while he was in the shower. I started keeping a log of every time he mentioned her name. It was hard to admit that I was doing as much damage as Maurice in the situation, and it was even harder to realize that maybe our marriage has more issues than what I thought. I'll start by saying that I never went to that lunch with Gertrude. I canceled 20 minutes before we were supposed to meet. Instead, I went to a park and sat on a bench for 2 hours, watching dogs play and children run around. After our fight that Friday night, my husband spent Saturday at his mother's house. She lives 30 minutes from us with her new husband. He stayed there the whole day, and I discovered from his story on Egg that he took his 2 step-siblings to the laser game and then to dinner. He also took them to Pokey's bakery for dessert. I was livid but resigned at this point. He had clearly said that he didn't care for my discomfort, so it's not like I was expecting much. I ignored him when he came back later that evening. I just didn't want to fight again. I pretended to be asleep when he came into the bedroom. He came to me and told me that we should talk. When I didn't say anything, he told me that he was sorry for being an asshole the day before, that he had started to sound like his father and he hated it, and that the last thing he wanted was for our marriage to be like the one his parents had. I told him that he dismissed my feelings and that by still going to Pokey he kept doing it, and that I felt completely disrespected. I tried to explain as calmly as I could how hurt I was to know A, about their past by someone else, B, that everyone around me knew and never told me anything up until now. I explained that I felt like a stranger because our friends suddenly reminded me that they were his friends with their behavior, and that I feel like I can't trust anyone around me because no one told me the truth. Then I asked him point blank if he still loves Pokey and why he kept everything a secret. I held my breath waiting for his answer. And that's when he told me the truth. And oh boy, was I not ready. Maurice basically confessed that he had loved Pokey like crazy. Like let's elope even if we're 16 and stupid level of crazy, but his parents were divorcing during that time and it was incredibly ugly and violent, so his teenager mind decided that love was dangerous, that by having relationships you lose the people you love. He then said that never have a relationship with someone important to you. In his case Pokey. He admitted that it was stupid, but I was not exactly the smartest kid. He couldn't stay away, but he also couldn't bear to lose her if an eventual relationship would implode, so they stayed in this limbo. Until the summer of madness. Pokey was already pretty tired of the situation, but then she discovered that she was pregnant. It was Maurice's because at the time she was single and as stupid teenagers they weren't using protection. I was already shocked as it was, but to hear my child-free husband say that he had wanted that baby the moment Pokey showed up in his room with a drugstore test left me speechless. So I asked what happened. And he told me that 2 weeks after finding out she lost the baby, they were still trying to come up with a way to talk to their families in his room when it happened. She got appendicitis and somehow it got her tubes inflamed and caused her pregnancy loss. He told me that his worst memory is calling Pokey's mom and his mom from the hospital while hearing Pokey's cries from behind the door of her room. Maurice also told me that that was pretty much the moment he became child-free. He told me I never want to hear someone I love cry like that ever again. Also, because of that pregnancy loss, it has become impossible for Pokey to have children without planning and medical help. That's why her divorce was so brutal. Her ex-husband wanted kids and blamed her when they couldn't have them naturally. He said she wasn't trying hard enough, wasn't following the doctor's advice properly. Most of their friends don't know. They still think she just got appendicitis. They made up a story about a fight over college choices to explain why she cut contact with everyone that summer. Maurice told me that after what happened she ran off to uni, avoiding him and pretty much the whole town for a year. He told me how confused and lonely he felt and how much he missed her, not the girl he loved but his best friend, the one who knew me better than myself and that I could always count on. So when she reached out when Maurice's grandma died, he pretty much promised her that they'll never put themselves in a situation like that again. That they'll be just friends and nothing more. And that's what they have been. He told me that he'll always love her, but that whatever they had is done and he married me and loves me, and that's what should matter. While saying this, he reached for my hand, but I pulled away. When I asked him if he was willing to see Pokey less and have a different kind of friendship for my sake, he told me that while he loves me he values his friends enough to not cut them off. He told me that after 13 years together I should know this about him. His voice grew louder with each word. So I told him that after 13 years I should matter enough. I packed a bag and told him I was going to visit my parents because I needed time. I threw clothes into a suitcase without checking if they matched. I grabbed my toothbrush and charger, leaving everything else behind. And that's where we are. I took some time from work and I'm still at my parents'. My mother keeps asking questions I don't want to answer. My father keeps suggesting I call a lawyer. It was a lot and I still don't know how to feel. I'm mostly empty. I've been walking around my parents' neighborhood for hours each day. I've been helping my mother with gardening even though I hate it. I've been avoiding Maurice's calls.